Hey folks, Chrissy here from the Cafe Soul Pod, and our next pod chat with Auntie Karen is going to be about the subject of narcissism, what narcissistic personality disorder is. There's a criteria for it. There's a broad spectrum also. We've all had times when we've been selfish. It can be a part of a trait of a narcissistic person. But what is it all about? So, narcissism is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a sense of entitlement, a deep need for admiration, praise, a lack of empathy for other people. While, the same thing could happen to someone else and they might not give a darn about. But if that was to happen to them, oh my goodness. While everyone can display selfish behaviours, someone with narcissistic personality disorder exhibits a pervasive long-term pattern of these traits that impacts all areas of their life. A diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder generally requires a consistent long-term pattern, showing at least 5 of the following characteristics. Grandiose self-importance, overstating achievements and expecting superior recognition, or even sprouting about particular topics they've got no experience or qualifications in. Fantastical thinking, preoccupation with unlimited success, power, beauty, a belief in superiority, viewing oneself as unique and only suited for high status associations. A sense of entitlement, expecting favourable treatment and automatic compliance from others when they want something, it should be done, why not? Using others to achieve personal goals, exploitative even behaviour. A lack of empathy, the inability to recognise or identify others' feelings. They just don't. Chronic envy, frequently envying others or believing that others envy them and what they have. An arrogant attitude, displaying haughty or condescending behaviours. Despite this exterior of extreme confidence, those with NPD often possess very fragile self-worth, making them highly sensitive to criticism, which can trigger shame, anger, even depression. How is it caused? Like, what causes someone to be a narcissist or have these group of traits? Well, apparently it's caused by a complex interplay of genetic, environmental and neurobiological factors. Experts widely agree that narcissism is not the result of a single event, but rather a combination of possibly younger childhood experiences, teenage experiences, the world at large life experiences, brain development, and inherited traits. Early life experiences play the most significant role in shaping narcissistic traits. Two opposite extremes in parenting are frequently identified as catalysts. Overpraise, overindulgence. Parents who excessively overindulge a child, shielding them from failure or bestowing unrealistic, uncontrolled praise, can cause the child to develop an inflated, grandiose sense of self. Neglect, abuse, or trauma. Conversely, children raised by cold, neglectful, or abusive parents often develop narcissism as a defense mechanism to mask deep-seated insecurities and survive in an unstable environment. The child builds a flawless, grandiose persona. Conditional love. When a child's self-worth becomes entirely dependent on their performance or achievements, it leads to a lifelong validation-seeking behaviour. Genetics and biology. Inherited traits and brain chemistry heavily dictate one's temperament and vulnerability to the condition. Family history. The risk of developing narcissistic personality disorder, NPD for short, is significantly higher if you have a direct family member with the disorder. Neurobiology. Brain imaging studies show structural differences in individuals with NPD. Specifically, there's often reduced grey matter in the prefrontal cortex, which is the region associated with empathy, emotional regulation, and perspective taking. Cultural influences. Society environment also contribute to the prevalence of the disorder. Narcissism and NPD are diagnosed more frequently in cultures that highly prioritise personal independence, individualism, and self-promotion, rather than communal or family-orientated societies. The world we live in, the people we mingle with, the wants we grow that grows in us, can affect our very personality from a young age growing up. So there's not one, it's a combination of different things, which is all part of our own personal choices in life. An estimated 0.5% to 6.2% of the global population is diagnosed with clinical narcissistic personality disorder. However, narcissistic traits such as self-focus and lack of empathy exist on a broad spectrum across the general public. Clinical rates and behavioural traits break down as follows. Clinical NPD, only about 1% meet the full diagnostic criteria for NPD, with approximately 75% of those diagnosed as being men. I think I watched a podcast with a psychologist yesterday. That is balancing out more. It's becoming more 50-50 men and women. Wide trait prevalence. Broader clinical studies suggest that the prevalence of the disorder and severe narcissistic behaviours may range anywhere between 1% and 6%, depending on the stringency of the criteria. Demographic studies show that narcissism traits are consistently more common in young adults than in older adults and score higher in cultures that emphasize independence and higher status. So the thing is, it's almost like it is a mental health issue, isn't it? So all the studies I've done on it, the professionals I've listened to on it, there's no cure. And a true narcissist will not look at themselves. They don't have the ability to do that. Why? Because then they would know and they would see. They'd have to be unmasked as a failure. They would rather lose everything than be unmasked. So they have a deficit somewhere within them to be doing this. So we have to have some kind of empathy here. It's almost like they can't help themselves, although they do know what they're doing. Why do I say that? Because they don't behave in public the same way they behave behind closed doors. Some do, some may. But if you've got a partner, for example, who's a narcissist, and they have the good life and everything's about the success and popularity or whatever that may be, in the public, they want to be seen as the perfect couple, the perfect family, the perfect role model. But behind closed doors, the put-downs, making you feel less than, the gaslighting, saying things, doing things, then totally, what? Don't even know what you're talking about. There's a lot of things come into it. And me and Natalie Cowan are going to discuss this in more depth. And what we're going to do is, because it's difficult, I think, for people to grasp, we're going to give some examples, real life examples of scenarios of how narcissists work. The prey on your weaknesses. They know what will trigger you. And usually they've got you in such a place where they think you will never leave or you will never do anything. They can do what they want, and they'll do something nice, they'll do something uplifting, they've got your back, they've got you all walking on eggshells. They've got you walking on eggshells. Remember, you cannot reason with an unreasonable mind. Common examples and red flags of narcissistic behaviour include, but are not limited to, a lack of empathy. So, dismissing or invalidating somebody else's feelings, or making a partner's struggles entirely about themselves. Gaslighting, manipulating facts, or denying events to make someone else doubt their own memory and sanity. The sense of entitlement, expecting special favours or automatic compliance with their wishes without reciprocation. So they expect others to do what they want them to do or what they want. But if it was the other way around, no, they wouldn't. Exaggerated achievements, taking credit for other people's work, or constantly inflating personal talents and importance. Deflecting criticism, reacting to minor critiques with disproportionate rage, contempt, or by turning the blame back onto the person raising the issue. Just small ones. You get them who they've actually done something, you pull them up, don't know what you're talking about. You've got it all wrong. We're going to be discussing lots of other things, giving examples of how this shows up in relationships, how they keep the cycle trauma bonding with the people in their lives, specifically partners. And it can be the smallest things, then you become trapped and you don't even realise you're in it. You're just walking on eggshells. You're just trying to please all the time. You're trying not to upset them. Anything to keep the peace. So there's a simple thing known as the 4 Ds of narcissism: deny, dismiss, devalue, and distract, or sometimes discard. These tactics are frequently used to avoid accountability, deflect blame, and maintain control in a relationship or situation. Here is a breakdown of the 4 Ds. So deny, refusing to acknowledge the truth or denying that a specific event, conversation, or wrongdoing ever took place. This is often accompanied by gaslighting, making the other person question their own account, their own memory, their own reality. Dismiss, minimizing your feelings, concerns, or experiences. A narcissist will often brush off your worries as overreacting or invalidate your emotions to make them seem unimportant. Devalue, actively tearing down your self-esteem, character, or accomplishments. This can take form of subtle insults, backhanded compliments, or direct criticism to keep you feeling insecure and dependent on them. Distract or discard, shifting the focus away from their bad behaviour by changing the subject, provoking an argument, playing the victim, or ultimately discarding you and the relationship altogether when it no longer serves their needs. It's often said there are 4 pillars of narcissism: a lack of empathy, grandiosity, a chronic sense of entitlement, and a chronic need to seek out admiration from other people and validation from other people. So narcissism, it really involves a pattern of different things, doesn't it? A need for admiration, a profound lack of empathy for others, not themselves, believing in their own superiority, exploiting people for personal gain, an inability to accept criticism, deflecting blame instead of taking accountability. They're unable or unwilling to recognise or validate the feelings and needs of other people. They hold unrealistic sense of superiority and expect to be recognised as special or superior without any commensurate achievements. They maintain unreasonable expectations of favourable treatment and automatic compliance with their demands. They're expected. A sense of entitlement. They frequently take advantage of other people to achieve their own goals or feed their own ego, because it's all about what they want. It doesn't matter what their partner wants. It doesn't matter what anybody else wants. It's this way. And they'll guide and manipulate to take the way they want to go. When confronted, they refuse to take responsibility, often deflecting the issue by projecting their own faults onto other people and playing the victim. They won't accept accountability. They regularly display, arrogance, condescending behaviour, dismissive attitudes towards views of others or feelings of others. And again, they know what they're doing. It's like they can switch on and off. In the public, when they're wanting everybody to think they're perfect and to think they've got the perfect relationship, the perfect job, whatever it is going on, the perfect life, but then change as soon as the door's closed and be a total different character. And this is quite often how the narcissist gets away with things, because to the public, to their friends, to this, to that, to the other, it's like, yeah, but they're so bubbly, they're so charming, they're so, loving, they're so this, they're so that. Well, no, that's the persona they want you to see. That's the mask they wear. The true them in that deficit is deflecting all of their issues onto the people that are closest to them, making them feel bad, worse, deflated, depressed, whatever, so they feel good. So there's something really wrong with them. And again, I say, we really need to have empathy, not just for the people that this affects, who have to live or be with the narcissistic people, but also the narcissists themselves. It's a combination. It's not, I don't think it's a conscious choice of somebody to become a narcissist. But as we've seen or heard, it's like a combination of life events. And I say this to my people. They say you become the people you hang around with, right? If you hang around with negative people all the time, you're going to end up feeling negative and becoming that person. It's how we navigate life and the choices we make, and whether we choose to take on the personality of another, in a partnership, or choose to stand in our own authentic self. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And the wants of life, the success, and that's what another thing a narcissist wants. It's success. Where if they want that and someone else is dragging them back, discard. So, what are your thoughts? Me and Auntie Karen are going to be doing a pod soon to discuss this more and give real examples that you can recognise or may recognise as patterns in a relationship. Because sometimes, the words get bandied around, don't they? Narcissism, gaslighting, far too much without a true understanding of what these words actually mean. So there's advice on how to protect yourself from narcissistic people. Mourn the loss of the person you thought they were, who they were before they became this narcissistic person. Accept the situation. Accept you cannot change the narcissistic mind, and let go. You can't change, you can't reason with an unreasonable mind. A mind that is interested. You just can't, because they'll always see it from their point, and they'll always play things or deflect things or blame. So let go. Mourn the loss, accept it, let it go. And what I'd like to add to that is, don't hold any resentment, don't hold any grudges, don't be vengeful, and don't engage in tit for tat, he said, she said type of things, because that affects your own energy. Set firm boundaries. What are you willing to accept? What are you not? In all relationships, not just with the narcissistic person, but you set your boundaries. Stop enabling out of feelings of guilt. That's how they've got you in the cycle. They've got you in that cycle. Break the cycle. Free yourself from any guilt. No. If you know this person is a narcissist, you've looked at these traits, and it's repetitive, repetitive, repetitive. Stop enabling. Stop feeling guilty. And lastly, seek professional support. It's okay going to friends and stuff, but you really do need someone who understands, has some kind of professional or even personal experience, and has had professional guidance to assist you, to talk to get some kind of sense of it. Because, as we know, the narcissist will have you thinking you're the one that's losing it. You're the one that's been unreasonable. You're the one that's been whatever it may be. So surround yourself with protective people. Do things that bring you joy. Focus on your day. Your day, the people that are in your life that are in a reciprocal energy, a give and take energy. So I'm going to say bye for now. We'll catch you soon on the pod. I will be posting the date for the discussion on this with Auntie Karen, giving real life examples of the behaviours of a narcissistic person. Have you had a relationship with a narcissist? Whether it be a partner, a parent, a sibling, a child, a friend, a work colleague? What was that experience, and what brought you to a realisation? Let us know. Join the conversation. You can email us at cafesoulpod@gmail.com.